right. Hey, thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate you being here. And I'm going to talk to you tonight about, in my very brief presentation, a little bit about PulseLabs, what we do. I'm the Chief Product Officer there and one of the co-founders. But more important, I'm going to talk about the voice opportunity and some critical ideas that are now being introduced in the world of design and development for voice that are different than traditional ideas in graphical user interface or GUI design. I'm going to give some examples there, and then I'm going to talk about the importance of usability testing for voice applications. And then, if we got time at the end, I'm going to do a quick demo of one of the things we can do at PulseLabs. So, first off, let me tell you a little bit about voice. So, voice and voice platforms have been, oops, there we go. All right. So voice and voice platforms have been taking off in the last couple of years. And this data is actually a little bit old, but last May in 2018, there were 54 million people with a voice device in their home. So a smart speaker, something they could talk to and that would talk back and would listen to them. And that number's only grown. In fact, it's grown quite a bit in the months since then. This represents an extremely exciting possibility for developers and designers to build new ways and new methods for interacting with people and helping them out and making their lives better. All right, so designing for these new interfaces, particularly in voice, is profoundly different than design that's come up through traditionally visual mediums like web and mobile. In visual mediums, user input can be easily constrained, data can be presented simultaneously and consistently, and entering text is relatively high friction. It's one of the reasons we like to be able to point and click. On the other hand, with voice, user inputs are completely unconstrained, presentation is sequential and ephemeral, and entering text is as easy as it could possibly be. All you have to do is speak. So this presents some interesting differences between voice design and visual design. And one of the simplest ones, but also one of the most pernicious, is that it's unconstrained. So even something as simple as a yes or no question, if you're building something in visual, you can just have a big green yes button, a big red no button. You can be pretty sure that your user is going to either click yes or no. Well, even a yes or no question in voice, your user could respond with yes, or they could respond with why not, yeah, sure, uh-huh, or any of literally dozens of other words or utterances that all map to the same meaning or intent. And a well-designed voice application needs to take all of these into account. So as an example, we tested a fitness app a while ago where the first question it asked the user was, would you like to start now? And if the user said, yes, start, or I'd like to start now, that wasn't understood. It was expecting just a yes or a no, and that's the kind of problem that can be extremely frustrating in voice design, but doesn't exist in visual design. All right, another difference, and this is actually maybe the key difference between voice and visual design, is I mentioned earlier that visual design, data can be presented simultaneously, and space is at a premium. You don't want to overwhelm your user with options. So something like a nested menu can make a lot of sense. In voice, that's not the case. Nested menus don't make any sense in voice, or rarely make any sense, and you want to try to keep your interactions as broad and as flat as you possibly can. Now, we've seen this in a lot of different scenarios. Oops. All right, but a while ago, we tested a ticket ordering skill in which the very first thing that it asked the user was, do you want to search for a movie near you, or do you want to search for a movie by name? If the user started down one of these paths, he or she couldn't transition to another one without restarting the entire interaction. All right, so how can you design interactions that meet human expectations within this new medium? Well, people have innate and well ingrained expectations for how an interaction with a voice user interface is going to go. We've been talking to other human beings all of our lives. And the best way to figure out how real people are going to interact with your application is to test with real people. But up until about a year and a half ago, that's been extremely difficult. PulseLabs solves this problem by providing a panel and a platform for doing usability testing. So we have a panel of trained usability testers in the US, Canada, France, and the UK. And we have a platform that lets you do this and provides the data back to developers and designers in a way that's easy to navigate and easy to understand. So I've got a demo here, but instead of taking up the quick Q&A time, if you want to come over and see the demo after the presentation, let me know. I've got it set up right here. And I think I'll just end by saying that PulseLabs is always looking for good engineers. We are a seed stage startup, and our most recent round was led by Madrona Ventures with investments from Bezos, Alexa, the Google Assistant, and Techstars. And we're super excited to be in Seattle and super excited to be working here. And I'd love to talk to you about just the voice space or anything you might be interested in doing there after the presentations. All right, questions? You want me to do the demo? All right. Okay, so I'm going to switch over here to my computer. And I'm just going to show you how this can work as a tester. So if I open up this guy. So suppose that you have been invited to take a test with PulseLabs. Well, in this case, I've just set up a quick, easy one that says, ask Alexa some questions and hopefully get some answers. If I say start the test, Alexa, how are you?
Did you ever try to write a poem and it turns out bad, but somehow that's good? That's how I'm feeling.
Don't know what that means. Alexa, what does your name mean?
Alexa is a female form of Alexander and is sometimes also a short form of Alexandra, both of which come from the Greek, Alexandros, which can be translated as defender of man. As for me, I'm named for the Library of Alexandria, which stored the knowledge of the ancient world.
All right, so one of the hardest things to get if you're developing and designing a voice application is if somebody's out there using your application to actually get the text and the transcripts of that interaction. Well, if you test with PulseLabs, we provide all of this data for every single test, and we even provide Alexa, how are you? Audio of all the inputs, which is data that's actually uniquely available on our platform and nowhere else in the ecosystem. So did Alexa answer your questions? First one was kind of weird, but I'm going to say yes. And then all of this data is then provided back to the developer or the designer so they can make their voice application as good as it can be. All right. Any final questions before I pass the mic? Yes?
Do you do skill matching?
Do I do skill matching?
Yeah.
I don't actually know what you mean by that.
The Alexa skills. So being able to actually match the skills with things that are already presented in Alexa so that people can match those skills and use them.
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely, yeah. So we use different terminology for that, but yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Yes?
How do you select your test users?
So there's a lot of different recruitment channels that we have for that, but we have a vetting process. So anybody that tests with us, they have to actually go through a practice test, give us feedback on that, and then we actually monitor how they do, and if the feedback that they provide is of a standard that we think is going to be useful to our customers, we then let them test applications that customers are building. Yes?
Are you testing for language variables and accent variables as well?
So yes, we do actually. So we have actually done some. Sorry. So we have actually done some studies around languages and accents, and in fact, the Washington Post published an article about 6 months ago that used data that we provided to them about differences in accents and how well or not well Alexa understands people based upon where they are and what their accent is. Yes?
So I'm wondering, the main product of the concept, are you guys just collecting data, or you guys also like analyze it?
Yes. So we analyze the data for all of our tests, and we provide reports back to our customers that not only provides all the interaction data, but provides summaries and statistics around all of the tester responses, plus our own analysis and also recommendations for how they can improve their application.
One more question.
Uno más? Yes.
When you show
Mm-hmm. No, so that actually is the sentence transcribed by Alexa. So if Alexa misunderstands what you said, you'll see what Alexa thought you said there, and then if you listen to it, you can find out what the person actually said. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Take that back.